At some point, we'll all leave the armed forces and we will all have to complete this form. You don't want to mess it up. Hey everyone, and welcome to The Savvy Squaddy. In this video, I'll be walking you through how to complete the AFPS Form 1. This is the form that you will fill out during your resettlement phase, ideally within 6 months of your final day in service. This will be where you claim for any pension benefits upon leaving the armed forces. And yes, the Resettlement Grant is a pension benefit. Even if you are not entitled to any immediate benefits, you still need to fill this form out. So this is a pretty important form to get right, but it is not the most user-friendly. This video should help with that. The AFPS Form 1 can be filled via the old school method of pen and paper or via JPA. Most of you watching will do it via JPA because why wouldn't you? However, I can't show you that process, so instead I will use the hard copy form which can be found on the Gov website, which I will link below. There is very little difference between the two methods. One is online, the other isn't. Using the JPA form, for example, will auto-populate your personal details and jump you to the relevant sections depending on your inputs. The hard copy version will obviously require you to manually add that information instead. This video is relevant regardless of which method you end up going with. So let's get straight into it. Part A is where you input your service and personal details. This should all be pretty self-explanatory. Tick the early release option if you have signed off and are leaving before the end of your engagement. If you are stuck and this video doesn't answer your questions, then at the bottom of this form is a phone number for JPAC. Give them a bell and they will be able to square you away. Moving down to the next section, Part B, Payment of Pension Benefits. Here you will have to choose one of two boxes. Either you are not entitled to immediate benefits or you are. Immediate benefits include the early departure payment, an ill health pension, and an immediate pension. The Resettlement Grant is not an immediate benefit. Most people who leave the armed forces before the end of a full career will not be entitled to any immediate benefits. So you'll tick the first box and move to Part N. Timecodes in the description will help you skip to the relevant sections. Just keep in mind that if you do leave without any immediate benefits, your deferred pension must still be claimed for when you reach the relevant age. It is not paid automatically. So a few months before your deferred pension is due to become payable, state pension age for example with the AFPS 15, then you will need to fill out AFPS Form 8 and send it off. For the 23-24 year, over 14,000 benefits are due but unclaimed. Don't forget to do it. When it comes to immediate benefits, the early departure payment eligibility criteria is 18 years of service and 40 years old or over when leaving the forces with the AFPS 05, or with the AFPS 15, it's 20 years of service and aged 40 or over. If you don't meet these criteria for your relevant pension schemes, then you are not entitled to it. I have a full video explaining EDP, which I will link below. Take this seriously, as not giving proper thought to the EDP eligibility criteria and leaving before it could cost you hundreds of thousands of pounds over the course of your life after leaving the forces. Eligibility for an immediate pension differs between schemes. For the AFPS 75, you must hit the immediate pension point. For officers, this is 16 years of service from the age of 21, and for other ranks, it's 22 years of service from the age of 18. When it comes to the AFPS 05, you must serve until age 55 in order to receive an immediate pension, and with the AFPS 15, you must serve until 60 years old to get the immediate pension. Most of us, however, will not be able to serve until then, which is why you should take the EDP seriously, as that funds the interim period between leaving the forces and your pension becoming payable. You can see it mentions here about aggregated benefits. This is in reference to people who rejoin. I'm not going into detail here, but I will link below the re-employment booklet it mentions. Anyway, if you are entitled to any immediate benefits, then mark the second box and move on to Part C, which is the 2015 remedy section. Now the 2015 remedy applies to you if you were in service on or before the 31st of March 2012 and still in service on or after the 1st of April 2015. That includes a qualifying break in service of 5 years or less. If you join the armed forces for the first time on or after the 1st of April 2012, then you are not in scope for the 2015 remedy and you would fill in the first box for Statement A and go to Part D. This is the remedy election form. So it's here where you choose which pension scheme you would like to have during the 7-year remedy period between 2015 and 2022. I've done a full video on the 2015 remedy which I will link below, as I will not be going into detail here. You should really only complete this form once you have received your remedial service statement. This will show you a comparison between your two options and will allow you to make a more informed choice. So, once you've received your RSS and made your choice, fill in the relevant box to the statement that best applies to you. For most people who are in scope, that will be statement D. Once you've ticked your relevant statement, it then tells you which subsection of Part C to go to. I'm not going into detail on these 3 subsections. Go to the one that applies to you, read the information and mark inside the relevant boxes. Subsection 3 is where most people who are in scope for the 2015 remedy will go. The first option is if you would like to receive your legacy benefits for the 7-year remedy period, and the second option is if you want to receive the 15 scheme for that period. RGPS 15, for those that might not be aware, is the Royal Gibraltar Pension Scheme 2015. If you're watching from there, then let us know in the comments. Regardless of which option you choose in this subsection, it will then ask you to move on to Part D, which is the Armed Forces Pension Scheme application form. You should only be filling Part D out if you are entitled to immediate benefits. Here, you simply pick the pension scheme or schemes that are relevant to you. The first option is if you are on the 75 and 15, the second option is if you are on the 05 and 15, the third option is if you are on the 15 and the Reserve Forces Pension Scheme 05, and the fourth option is just the 15 scheme. Whichever one you pick, there is then a list which tells you the different sections that you are required to fill out. But don't let the amount deter you, they are all pretty simple and I will go through them. Skip to the sections of this video which are relevant to you, and remember, filling out this form on JPA will automatically jump you to the relevant parts. Part E pertains to those on the 75 and 15 schemes. AFPS 75 has something called Resettlement Commutation. This is where you can reduce part of your 75 pension until the age of 55 to create an extra lump sum. Use the pension calculator to see how much you could receive. Choose whether or not you want to do it, and if you're going for it, then pick either the maximum amount it allows or a set amount. Speak to the JPAC or go through the AFPS 75 explained booklet to learn more. Part F is for those who have time accrued on the 05 and the 15 scheme, and this part covers inverse commutation. The 05 scheme offers an automatic lump sum when the pension becomes payable. You can, however, choose to reduce the lump sum in order to increase your annual pension. So, if you choose to do so, mark the Yes box and then fill the amount you would like to give up in multiples of 100. Either you choose to increase the annual pension that you alone will receive, or you can also increase the amount of pension both you and then your dependents will receive once you kick the bucket. If you have filled out an AFPS Form 3 or 3 Alpha, which covers the allocation of your pension, then fill in the Yes box. Part G is the same as Part E, but it covers the inverse commutation of the Reserve Forces Pension Scheme 05 instead. If you are unsure of the potential amount of lump sum you will receive, then make sure to either use the pension calculator, refer to your latest benefit information statement, or submit a pension forecast form, or use all 3 of these options. I have done a video on all 3 of these topics which I will link below. Then, from this, you can choose a figure to give up. Bear in mind, when using inverse commutation, it is not reversible. If you're going to do it, then fill in the Yes box and then decide whether you want the increase on your pension alone or that of you and your dependents. Make sure the figure is in multiples of 100. Moving on to Part H, which covers the AFPS 15 or the RGPS 15. The first section of this is also on inverse commutation, but where on the 05 scheme, inverse commutation is on the pension lump sum, when it comes to the 15 scheme, it affects the early departure payment. And yes, EDP is separate to the annual pension. This is because, unlike the 05 scheme, the AFPS 15 does not offer an automatic lump sum when the pension becomes payable. By selecting yes that you want to inversely commute, you are sacrificing your entire tax-free EDP lump sum to increase the taxable EDP income. You don't need to worry about the calculations, they will do that. And like before, this decision is not reversible. The section under this is if you happen to serve up until normal pension age, which is 60 under the AFPS 15. You can choose to postpone the payment of your pension and input the date you wish for it to start being paid. If you do this, then a late payment supplement will be added to your pension. If you happen to leave between the ages of 55 and 60, you can still claim your immediate AFPS 15 pension early. However, in doing so, it will be reduced due to being paid out over a longer period of time. If you wish to do this, then fill out the relevant box. And if you have allocated any of your AFPS 15 or RGPS 15 pension, let it be known here. Part I covers commutation in relation to the AFPS 15 or RGPS 15. Now, if inverse commutation is giving up part of your lump sum to increase your income, then commutation is giving up part of your pension income to create a lump sum. As I mentioned earlier, AFPS 15 does not offer an automatic lump sum when the pension becomes payable. However, one can be created via commutation. With the 15 scheme, you can create a tax-free lump sum up to a maximum of 25% of the value of your pension. If you want to do this, then fill in the relevant box and either choose to do the maximum amount or put in an amount in multiples of 100 of your annual pension you are willing to give up. Use the pension calculator, benefit information statement and pension forecast to help guide you through this decision. As an example, here is my own pension calculator results. When I reach state pension age, my annual pension from the 15 scheme is £20,978 in today's money, but I decide that I would like a tax-free lump sum at state pension age to do some home renovations, pay off my mortgage and go on a retirement holiday. I opt for the maximum amount, which would give me a tax-free lump sum of £89,906, but in doing so, I reduce my annual pension to £13,486, a reduction of over £7,000 a year. You need to make sure you have sufficient income in retirement to sustain you if you opt to do commutation. It is not a reversible decision. Moving on to Part J, and this is where we start getting into the HMRC bits and bobs. This part is about how you will use your retirement lump sums. HMRC have rules about how much of that lump sum can be reinvested into another pension scheme. If you do not intend on doing that, then fill in no for the first question and move to Part K. Most people will probably do this as they'll want to enjoy their lump sums. However, if yes, move to question 2. If that is a no, move to Part K. If not, complete question 3. If you need further guidance on this, contact HMRC on the number provided at the top of Part J. Eventually, you'll end up at Part K, which is about other pensions in payment. This is again for HMRC and the lifetime allowance. However, that was scrapped by the Conservatives and Labour have said they will not reintroduce it. If it is there when you fill out the form, most people will be selecting no. This really only affected senior officers. Part L is about whether or not you have requested a transitional tax-free amount certificate from another pension scheme and if you have sent a copy to Veterans UK. Again, this will not apply to most people and you should know if you have done one. This is also the same for Part M, which asks about fixed protection from HMRC. Again, this will mostly apply to senior officers, so for the majority, select no and move on to Part N. This section is the one that applies to everyone and is pretty crucial. This is where you input your bank details, and it's also the part where you move to had you said that you were not entitled to any immediate benefits back in Part B. So fill in all the required details to make sure you get paid. Part O is all about data protection. Part P is your declaration that the information you have provided is accurate to the best of your knowledge. Part Q is where you decide if you want future correspondence via the email you provided in Part A. And then finally, Part R is where you sign and date. It is important you complete and send this form back to Veterans UK or submit via JPA. Failure to do this will mean you will not be paid any benefits to you which you are entitled to. The address for you to send back the physical version of the AFPS Form 1 is at the bottom of the page. On the final page you will see a couple of boxes to input your name, address and service number. Veterans UK will send this back to you dated within 28 days of them receiving your completed form. They cannot start the claim process until the day after your termination, which is why they say payment will be within 31 days or so after your final day in service. This is also why you do not want to delay completing this form. Remember, the Resettlement Grant is not classed as an immediate benefit, so in Part B, you'll be selecting no and going straight to Part N to fill in your bank details. The system will know that you are entitled to payment of the Resettlement Grant as you would have served over 12 years in the armed forces, but are not entitled to any immediate benefits like the EDP or ill health. And there you have it. That is how you fill out the current physical version of the AFPS Form 1. The JPA version will look a bit different, but the fundamentals and questions should be the same. If you don't do this, then retirement might be a bit tighter than you expected. Do you now know how to claim for the Resettlement Grant? Have you used this form before? And if so, what was your experience of it? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you all for watching. If you liked what you just saw, please hit the subscribe button up there. And if you want to see some more videos, click over there. See you soon.